And we are live. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I am here today with the founder of the Trump Rocks NFT project and a fellow crypto mindset alumnus. I've had the opportunity to be in a few different groups with this person. So, George, welcome to the stream. Appreciate you hopping on with me for a few minutes this evening to chat about crypto, NFTs, and a few other things going on in the world. How you doing tonight?
All right. I appreciate you bringing me on.
Yeah, super excited. Super excited. I know we've swapped a bunch of messages in different groups and I'll say, if you know, you know. Real excited to have you on. So real quick, George, before we get into some of the specifics of your NFT project and what initially brought you into crypto? Kind of when did you start? How'd you ultimately dip your toes into it and bring you up to May 2024, give or take? So yeah, a little history, please.
Okay. It's an interesting story. I was I used to live in Hawaii, and this has some relevance. I was driving one day and I heard on the news, oh, Bitcoin went up to like $1,200, and I was like, cool. I didn't even know what that was, and it caught my attention. And then later on, I was talking to a friend who was like a cybersecurity guy, and he's a smart guy, and he was talking about Bitcoin, and this was like a year or so later, and the price of Bitcoin had dropped substantially, and he was talking about it and telling me about it. So I looked into it, and then I decided to buy some. So I bought some at a pretty good price, like $200, 250 around there. Anytime I had any spare money, I was just like throwing it into Bitcoin. And then I was looking for alternatives to Bitcoin, and then I came across this thing called Ethereum, and then another thing called Litecoin, and I didn't know how to get in. I didn't know how to buy it, and eventually learned how. And the interesting thing about living in Hawaii, so I moved back to the mainland, but the interesting thing about living in Hawaii was at some point they made holding your coins on an exchange illegal. And so Coinbase completely locked me out of my crypto for probably like a year. And so I was like begging and begging and begging to get my money back. And finally they allowed me to like withdraw it onto a wallet. But yeah, that actually was my long introduction into the crypto world. And then, after that, it just got deeper and deeper and deeper into it, and then eventually found the crypto mindset, and they essentially took me from noob investor to like high level person involved in crypto. I don't want to say expert because I don't really think there is an expert in crypto at this point in time.
Yeah. I'd say, yeah, you've made your own project, right? You've been around for at least a couple cycles here. So you got me beat as far as credentials go. I kind of have a similar but slightly different story. Can't say I've ever lived in Hawaii. I was, at the time, the company I was working for had just been bought out. And so I was traveling under effectively the new ownership. And I was in Texas. I was in Dallas, Texas. And it was right around Christmas 2017. And I remember, okay, Ethereum, Bitcoin in the news. Bitcoin, my feeling sentiment at the time was, okay, that train's kind of left the station. I'd heard about Bitcoin previously, just missed the opportunity. Ethereum, though, okay, sounds like there's maybe some opportunity in this one. So I remember buying, I think, Ethereum around like $400, $500 circa that time frame. Watched it run up to like $1,200, $13. Watched it come all the way back down. And I was like, well, if I sell now, I definitely lose. So guess I got no choice but to hold it and hope for the future, and hope it continues to do things that Bitcoin were doing at the time. Fast forward to let's say June 2021, like May 21, June 21. Obviously, the world was in interesting state of affairs at that point in time. And I was like, man, screw this totalitarian approach to so many things. Screw this sentiment at work regarding certain things. And I just wanted to find a way to enhance the rate at which I was moving towards freedom through a series of late night YouTube searches and just being up at all hours of the night. And, like many of us, kind of locked in boredom, right? And just YouTube constantly playing in the background, stumble on to Fresh and Fit, and Miguel and Charlie were on there. And I was like, oh shit, guess I'll give them a whirl. I think the course back then was like $1,000, give or take. If this was like pre-Citadel, as I recall, and all those wonderful programs they have. And I said, okay, clearly, they're just watching them talk. It's like I have so much more left to learn. Went through the course and was like, okay, I'm not going to say I
Yeah.
understand it all. I understand how much I was missing at a very high level and started to fill in pieces of the puzzle for me. And then fast forward, basically I've been taking every course since then. I know you and I again have been in a few different courses and a few different groups together and had some other side chats. And, culminating in basically earlier this year, I started streaming. I had the opportunity to meet some of the Moon Gang folks at some different events and meetups and some of the different offshoot groups. And it's been a delight. I'd say in general, a lot of crypto folks, if you can kind of get them face to face or someone on camera or the like, they're all generally pretty solid folks, and we're generally all headed in the same direction. So, yeah, that's kind of my background. So, okay, you're doing all this stuff here. You're investing in different asset classes and the like. You're dipping your toes or more wholly embracing digital assets and the like. At some point in time, there's kind of a light bulb moment, or you get this notion of, hey, I think I'm going to do an NFT project. Can you talk a little bit about what culminated, like the sequence of event that culminates in, hey, I'm going to go do an NFT project?
Oh man. Um, you know, I don't know what necessarily drove me toward NFTs. Um, Probably just a need to create something. And I do web, I do mobile development. So I do nerdy things, for a living, right? And I like to create things. I like to like build stuff. And going through the crypto mindset course, I think you and I were in the same course. There was like a sub course on NFTs, and it more or less showed like a process of who NFT, not services or providers, but essentially services you could use to publish NFTs so that you didn't actually have to write the contract yourself. Um, which, if anybody is thinking of doing an NFT, you probably don't want to write the contract yourself. Like, you probably, even if you write Solidity well, you probably don't have the capacity to audit your code and make sure it's like ironclad before publishing. So just some advice there. But I just wanted to create. And so I decided to tap into an existing fan base, which would be the MAGA team, all of the people that are interested in, or supporters of Donald Trump, essentially. Um, it's something that's interesting because I find Trump himself to be a pretty good showman. Like, he's entertaining. Like, no matter what he's doing, political speeches, whatever, even in the courtroom, he's just an entertaining guy. So there's a fan base, there's something there, and there are like some unique characteristics of the NFT, or not the NFTs, but of Trump himself and Trump supporters. And so the idea is to tap into that, and then build a web page, build some videos, build the NFTs, and see where it goes.
Nice. And yeah, we were in that same course. I know they had some guest instructors, Anorak and Rocky from Red Pill Lions, on that particular course. And it was interesting. I've had the opportunity to meet Rocky and Kevin previously. Very nice guys. Appreciate them being very hospitable when they had the opportunity to meet them. I think that's what, a couple years ago, maybe at this point in time. Anyway, so which chain is the Trump Rocks NFT on?
Yeah, so there's a couple of options. They exist on Ethereum and Pulsechain, so you can mint either one. I wanted to put them on Pulsechain just to save on gas fees for anybody that was interested, and also I like I want to say the libertarian aspects of Mintra. Mintra is the NFT marketplace on Pulsechain. I think the only NFT marketplace on Pulsechain currently, and it's really kind of a whatever you want to put up there, you can put up there. And so this was actually one of the earlier projects. Like, if you go back through Mintra and you look through all the NFT collections, Trump Rocks is like one of the earliest projects on there. Um, So, if you're interested in minting an NFT on Pulsechain, you can go to Mintra and you can find it, and we're going there right now. Yeah.
Yeah, but just kind of like poke around the site and show people a few options. You got the opportunity to mint there. There's an Ethereum mint location on that front. Okay, so Pulsechain, I appreciate you got the option to get on Pulsechain and like, and so 2,500 NFTs on that front. I know I own one, so I appreciate that, and I admire the overall effort to that. Was this your first foray into NFTs? Was coming off that course, like, hey, let me go create something that I kind of one amuse myself, two get to experiment with, and whatever else? Or have you done any NFT projects in the run up to this, like either as a test bed or actually something else you've launched previously?
I actually forgot about another project that I launched. It was a stupid project, but there was a point in time where Elon he was giving a speech and he told like the advertisers to go F themselves, or he told the tech platforms to go F themselves. I can't remember who he was talking to. Like, you can't blackmail me, go F yourself. And I took that picture, I threw the text on it, and I turned that into an NFT. And it was really just to like test it out. I think it's sitting on OpenSea. I don't even know. I don't know. It's like 60 of them are available. No, there's no publicity. There's no advertising, nothing like that. I just really wanted to test the waters, and that's the way I did it. And this process is actually fun, for me, at least. Like, I enjoy, I spend time like building things like this website, like things like that. Um, and that doesn't necessarily get my creative itch scratched. Like, there's a lot of technical things that I do that aren't necessarily the most creative, but putting the NFTs together, that was fun. Like, that was something I really enjoyed doing.
All right, so as we're kind of navigating our way through election season, obviously there's a lot of interesting things going on. Interesting slash unpleasant things potentially, but I'll say minimally interesting things going on this political season, election year, economy, geopolitics, all sorts of fascinating stuff going on. Do you foresee yourself further expanding the notion of the Trump rocks NFTs, doing some sort of offshoot NFT or some other crypto project currently?
Um, yeah, I'll probably do another NFT project, like unrelated to this one, or semi-related to this one. Probably not necessarily political. Um, this one is political. I do. I will be voting for Trump in the upcoming election. Um, but this one is political in so much as it like taps into an existing fan base. Like, that was the goal, to tap into a community and give like a community something to be a part of as like another sub community. Um, I will probably build another NFT project. One, I enjoy it. Two, you learn a lot from doing things like this. And three, it's fun. It's just a fun thing to do. I don't have the name or the concept of it clearly defined yet, so I can't announce it. But it is going to be nice. I promise that.
Yeah, like I know we were talking a little bit before the stream. I have a prior lifetime of as a musician, right? And still am, but I'm not making my living at it these days, or at least not anymore. Uh, there's a lot of effort that goes into prepping and practice and going through stuff that doesn't work,
Yeah.
right? It's a huge element of, like, in so many ways, process of reduction and distilling, and throwing 10,000 things at it and figure out, okay, this speaks to me, this doesn't, this is a minimum skill set. And like, so we got a question from one of the viewers and supporters here. Large is asking, do the NFTs currently provide any utility?
Like a utility in the sense of like Magic Cats, where you could stake them and earn some additional boo or anything like that. No, not really. And will there be utility in the future? Um, that's something I would like to add, time permitting. Right now, the biggest utility is that it's a community. So Um, will they appreciate in price? Maybe. It depends what the market does. Um, if you know Trump takes off, well, there's like three scenarios that I can see Trump NFTs doing really well. One is if he's running in the election, which he's going to do. Okay, that's one scenario. Two is if he wins. Another one is if he goes to jail. I can see the NFTs uh, going off in value too. And the other thing would be like if he was to die, like they would increase in value. Um, I don't want to say, I don't
That's
want to say
grim.
that
Yeah,
like,
that's grim.
yeah, I know,
Let's not jinx it.
but that's essentially what happens if you look at art, right? And
Yep.
like an artist or the subject of a famous work of art like dies, the art around that individual actually goes up in value. So, um, is this a one-on-one comparison with the art world? Yeah, kind of, but not. It's a unique. It rhymes, um, but yeah, there isn't any utility there aside from being a part of something, and then also price appreciation. So this is, and I should preface that this is a growing market. So we're in the part of the market where the crypto is taking up. NFTs are not there yet. So if you want to get in on something early, have at it. And if you want to
Yeah,
get in on something that was like on the ground floor of the Pulsechain NFT ecosystem, have at it.
yeah. Like, hey, let's pump George's bags. But jokes aside, on that front, I'll say, but there may not be extended utility in the form of like magic cats or other types of NFTs people may think of. And I'm also going to add the word yet to it. And why is this? So it comes down to how I explain NFTs to some of my normie friends, because they can take certainly different approaches to things on a very bare bones level. Okay, and like I'll acknowledge things like, I don't know if you ever played around with some of those liquid driver financial NFTs that they had, where you could basically like
Sure.
mint your stake to an NFT. And like my point here is potentially, if people think of an NFT above and beyond, okay, like potentially a JPEG or a character or an item on the blockchain, I often explain it is effectively like a deed or a membership card or the like to that. And so I it doesn't even have to come from you, George. It can come from somebody else. Hey, I'm coding up this program, or I've got this DEX, or I've got this website, and I don't know if you ever played with the like when Byte Masons launched Oath. If you had a number of different Phantom NFTs, you got effectively discounts in the or bonus multipliers if you want to like consider from that direction for the Oath generation events. So somebody could sit there and say, hey, if you get submit your Trump NFT proof of ownership, and we'll give you an extra 10% right in the generation or like credit of tokens, or 5% off this transaction, or like. So just by virtue of existence and the fact that we have the ability to confirm ownership on the blockchain, you can have like secondary or non-native functionality extended to it. So there's potential options out there in the future. You did the initial hard work of building the damn thing. So you take the NFT course with the instructors Anorak and Rocky, and we go through the Crypto Mindset NFT program. Roughly how long would you say was it from the point where I've completed the course to I have my NFTs like culminating the creation of Trump Rocks? Is that like a 2 week, 2 month span? What was the interval of time to the best of your recollection?
I did it relatively fast. So I actually wanted to launch it before the end of 2023. Um, and I think I launched it like on the 30th or 31st. And that was actually for tax purposes as well. Like I wanted to
Mm.
make sure I like created an LLC and had everything tied in and everything registered, um, all of that together. But I think it took me about a month. And again, the reason I could do that so quickly, like, putting the website together, I do that for a living. This is built in the Django framework using Bootstrap. Anyone that works in web would know what I'm talking about. And so I was able to build that rather quickly. And then the NFTs, I just sat down in cafes and started, building the various layers together, um, and just did that day in and day out. It was more like an obsession, actually. It was just I was like, oh, I got to get this done. And it was photoshopping different backgrounds, making things look, um, trying to make things look better and test them out. But it's fun. It's a fun process. So it took me about a month. Um, and again, I wasn't coding the Solidity contract. I relied on another company that, had a contract that's like well audited. I believe it's One Mint. And, I can't say, oh, I recommend using One Mint. I don't know, you know, all the other products that are out there, but One Mint worked well for me. So as far as like a personal endorsement, yeah, they were good. They were good.
Got it. And so while maybe you can't necessarily confirm all of their audits and like with a technological microscope, you can say, at least personally say, hey, you've used it, you were able to successfully launch a project, and so far it's been good to go. So
Yeah.
you
Well,
got
and on that, you actually can look at their code. So they allow you
very
to,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So they do allow you to audit the code. If you want to look at it, you can go through the code and make sure it checks out. And again, I'm not a Solidity expert, but I looked at it and I'm like, okay, this works. This works. Seems like I was like reviewing a not so good PR at work or something like that. But no, no, it worked out. It looked solid, and I've since um, you know minted them, had them up on various exchanges, and everything's working fine. So as far as I can tell, it's worked out. And then there's other companies that have used One Mint as well, and it has worked out for them. So it's not like we're trying to sell One Mint here, but they did a good job.
Yeah, and hey, in many ways, the best endorsement of a product, team, or service is ultimately I elected to use them, aka I transacted with them, be it my own personal funds or my time or effort or whatever else. So what I find is very interesting here is okay, you go through the NFT course, which covered okay how to look for some value NFTs and the like, as well as hey, this is our experience building our own NFTs. So you walked out with the education, so to speak, of it and the information on it, and then you actually went and relatively quickly applied that newfound information to cultivate in the form of okay, you had some level of technical background and technical skill set there, but relatively quickly apply that information to develop your own product on the blockchain here. So kudos to you, George. It's actually really, really cool because I know I myself I take in a lot of information passively in the background. I just kind of let the machine run and figure out ways to piece together the puzzle. And then someday it's like, oh, I got the answer to something. But cool, man, you did a product here. We got a couple of questions from the viewers. So Large is asking, how many Trump rocks total in the collection?
Yeah, so there's 2,500 in total for the collection. Now, I need to preface that and say like, oh, they're on two chains. So there's 2,500 in Ethereum and 2,500 on Pulsechain. And then I believe you're on the right section of the website here. So they're going to have different levels of rarity. It just kind of depends on like the color of their sunglasses, the color of the rock, what kind of logo they have, what kind of hat they have. Um, those are just different variations, the different backgrounds. They all have different combinations of rarity. So they become more common, rare, and then legendary. And then there's a few one of ones, like super rare ones. And I think if you scroll down just a little bit, um, these guys are different color rocks. They all have like Trump hair and sunglasses, but they all have a Bitcoin on their symbol. So those are the rarest ones. And then if you scroll over one more and you go to the ones with the hats, yeah, those were like unique ones because normally I wouldn't put like a red hat on a red background or a blue hat on a blue background. Um, those were like configurations of how that should be, and these ones just violated those rules. So those are like the rarest ones, the ones with the Bitcoin on them and those color combinations.
Very cool, very cool. So Awesome. All right. So again, thanks for the quick overview on that one. I know we got in election year some interesting politics, and we were kind of spitballing behind the scenes about a few other things going on in the U.S. and in North America, and some of the madness we got going on. Let me pull this one up. So Jamie Dimon, who is J.P. Morgan Chase's chief executive, and let me pull up this article.
And our favorite market manipulator.
I was going to say he's got one hell of a crystal ball in a lot of ways. On that one, like he and Pelosi, very interesting with some of the stuff they come up with. But this one caught my attention, and we're just chatting a little bit about it. So, Jamie Dimon saying, hey, in many ways, he doesn't anticipate inflation kind of slowing down. Obviously, there's somewhat glowing review in this article about, hey, Jamie Dimon's awesome. He's super smart. And and the CPI is 3% to 2% to 3.4%. And come on, anyone who's been out food shopping, traveling, trying to buy anything, anywhere knows that is quite frankly one huge crock of shit on that front. So in this particular case, they were talking about there's a lot of inflationary forces in front of us, according to Jamie. The underlying inflation may not go away the people expect it to. He said the higher rates accompanying inflation could also be a problem. If you have higher rates and, God forbid, stagflation, you will see stress in real estate, leverage companies, and private credit. Early thoughts on that one, George?
Well, we're already there. We're already in stagflation. I mean, we have the inflation rising. Salaries are not keeping up. So we're already there. And then the idea that we're actually measuring inflation accurately is just laughable to me. Because when we take, I believe, the consumer price index, which is supposed to be our measurement of inflation, when that's actually done, we're not using the same longitudinal data year over year. So you're not making accurate comparisons. So the way I understand it is like you take the price of gasoline, you take the price of milk, you take the price of eggs, just examples. You could probably use any product, and you compare that longitudinally over year. And I believe the way that's been measured over the last, 20 years, the standards have changed, i.e. the products that they use vary. So they can't accurately measure this. So I take anybody that's saying something about inflation. I find that kind of laughable. The other thing is like we're already there. I mean, look at use your common sense. Go to the store, and something that you paid $2 for is now $3, or something that used to be $4.99 is now $8.99. You can feel it. We all can feel it. So it's there.
Yeah, it's garbage. And to your point, it's not apples to apples, and by design, right? They want to be able to make the claim, and it's easy to make the claim when you change the definitions or parameters, right? What's the old saying? Lies, damn lies, and statistics on that one. And so looking at things like McDonald's, right? I don't often stop at McDonald's, but I did. I was like $15 to $20 for a meal. Are you out of your mind? Like what is happening? I can't imagine a family of four or somebody trying to go to McDonald's, right? Now it's like $100+.
It's jokeable. It's just so funny because it's so bad for your health at the same time. And it's like, you might as well just go to a local place, get a halfway decent meal, as opposed to like buying something processed from McDonald's. Not that I'm like, that's the standard when I do road trips. Like I do stop at McDonald's because, I know that they're going to consistently give me the same thing, but the prices may vary.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? It has been pretty wild to watch in that one. So closing comment here on this particular one was Diamond was saying, my view is whatever the world is pricing in for a soft landing, it's probably half of that. I think the chances of something going wrong are higher than people think. And so directly related to that, we were also talking about some information put forward by the Fed in the sense that we're seeing a continuing rise in U.S. credit card delinquency on this one. And I know we're chatting a little bit again about this one off stream, we can see the percentage of people with delinquent credit card debt continues to rise, and they broke it down by zip code. And you can see, roughly speaking, they got like a 24, 25-year timeline here. So when you take a look at something like this, George, and just, given your experience and your travels and the like, what are your initial reactions to this?
I mean, obviously, to me, this is going to be a sign of. Now, I haven't, I haven't looked deeply at like what their data that they're actually using and how it was collected or anything like that. But you know, when you see delinquency rates increase, that means people were taking on debt prior to that. And they were taking on debt prior to that. Nobody really wants to take on debt, but they were probably taking on debt in order to maintain a standard of living. And if they're trying to maintain a standard of living and they're having to take on debt to do that, that means probably things cost more than they previously did, i.e., we see inflation. So this is really just like a side effect of inflation without wages increasing. That's my view of it. It could be true, could not be true, but that's what I'm looking at, and that seems pretty clear to me.
Yep,
I don't
very
know.
much
What
agree.
are you thinking about it?
So I was very curious about this one, and it's coming from the Fed. So okay, six of one, half dozen of the other. Kind of want to trust it a little bit. Really want to be ultra skeptical of it, and I decided to drill down into this report that is referenced here. This is, I believe, from Center for Microeconomic Data. This is from the New York Fed under this condition, and it's a quarterly report that was released this month about the Q1 2024 household debt and credit, and it's kind of a retrospective on this one. And so let me see here. If I hop down to this page, looking at some of the underlying data sets here, a couple of them really jumped out at me. This is the transition into serious delinquency, so 90 plus days for auto loans by age. And so up here, I'll just go with like kind of top down real quick, 18 to 29. Okay, we see it spike around 2008 quarter one after having been like 4%, jumps up to 5.5%, give or take, drops down, grinds up, drops down, and then obviously end of the world stuff, so to speak, kicks in for 21, and you just see this incredible rate of increase back up to roughly 5%. So it's starting to get within striking distance of how things looked in 2008. Then you see this pattern repeating effectively across almost all age brackets. And to me, the real concerning thing is just the rate of increase. We love those in crypto charts. I feel awful for people who are potentially in that position as far as struggling with credit. And look, a lot of people found themselves in a position where they had to live off of credit when effectively the world closed, or the cost of living by way of inflation, going back to our last round of conversations, it's just gotten out of control. Then I also want to eyeball this particular chart. So this one's for credit cards. We just looked at auto loans. And again, you can see the rate of increase for the 18 to 29 bracket. And I said, okay, when was the last time we saw something like this for this age group? Well, 2011, which is really coming off of the peak surge in the circa 2008 crash. Again, you can see just this incredibly steep rate of increase across all age demographics. So yeah, it sounds like there's a certain level of legitimacy to some of those claims. I realize, George, yourself, myself, a number of folks who are watching this, we're all in the crypto space to try to escape this stuff. Knee-jerk reactions, like gut punch reactions. What do what's your vibe when you look at something like this, knowing that, hey, it seems like a not insignificant percentage of people are really struggling with these types of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's reflective of course, inflation and trying to maintain a lifestyle. Um, Now, I don't like debt, personally. Like, I don't like to take it on. Um, but there are some benefits to taking on debt. Like if you can, uh, you get something like a house loan, have it at a low interest rate, and then inflation takes off, you're doing great. Um, Consumer debt, on the other hand, I don't necessarily think it's healthy to bring it on. So I think it's just a reflection of just things costing more. and it's really unfortunate. And the auto loan, I think, is just, again, reflective of, this is US data, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the auto loan is reflective of like the central point that the car plays in our society as a whole. Um, you basically have to have a car to do anything in most places in the U.S., and they cost more.
Yeah, not only cost of purchase. I mean, look at how outrageous truck prices became over the last few years, right? Even used trucks were unbelievably expensive, and many times, paradoxically, you can end up like getting making more money by selling a used truck than you would by buying a new vehicle. So certainly cost of production by way of, again, inflation and supply chain woes, as well as total cost of ownership, to your point. And if you're not in a major metro area with viable mass transportation to do anything in the US, you effectively need a vehicle.
It was interesting, the auto. So I was working in the auto industry during this time, actually, around like 2020, 2021. And it was really interesting to see what was going on the inside there. Um, you know, as far as I could tell, manufacturers were cutting corners along with that chip shortage. So, like, if you needed, some kind of chip for, and I'm not talking potato chips. I'm talking like processor chip, right? If you needed a chip for, let's say, like a digital display for your speedometer or something like that, they tried to cut the corners as much as possible and put analog in as much as they possibly could to just get those cars on the lots, because there wasn't any cars on the lot. And they were probably doing well. I wasn't in the team that was looking at the financial reports. I was a software engineer, but I'm sure they were doing well.
Yeah, and I recall seeing different issues with that. I ended up having a leaking furnace valve in my neck of the woods, and so I called an HVAC technician to address it. And they're like, "That's fairly new. It was made in China," and it's just like basically we're getting a lot of junk product, like lower QC, lower quality products coming out of China and other areas. I know for my daytime gig, a lot of the plastics we were using became very problematic because the supply chain shortages and the dominant producer of those happened to be in Wuhan, China. So yeah, like a lot of corners. I wouldn't I wouldn't fully go personally for what I was running into. Fully go to say is like corners were being cut so much as it's just mass produced, not good quality control. Just send it out the door. If people want to call that cutting corners, so
Yeah.
be it. But the attention to detail and the overall care or quality of the product wasn't there. All right, let's pivot over to final home stretch of items and articles for our conversation. So coming kind of a little bit back to where we started aspects of today's conversation. So interestingly enough, the Trump campaign starts taking cryptocurrency donations and vows to build a crypto army, announcing, hey, we're going to start
My Trump hat.
we're going to start accepting cryptocurrency donations. And I know people have probably seen the press snippet or media snippet where Trump says he's okay with crypto and just wants to make sure it's safe. We got some rules around it, but happy to accept donations. Obviously, there have been direct from the man's, let's say, campaign or the man himself, some Trump NFTs in years prior. So as we heat up in the election cycle, I'll kind of give this little quick backdrop of this. It's estimated, according to some of Coinbase's data, somewhere around 1/5 of the U.S. population owns cryptocurrency in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, there'll be folks like yourself, myself, and some of the viewers of this channel who are a little bit more than neck deep in it. But knee-jerk reactions to this one.
I love it. Bring it on, baby. With the Trump, he cannot be opposed to cryptocurrency. So there's a couple of reasons. Now, I believe he was, I believe maybe in 2017, 2018, after he had been elected, he was probably caught on a mic saying, "Oh, cryptocurrency, that's for drug dealers." But he, at this point, he cannot be against it. I think he's launched 3 NFT collections from which he has benefited. One of which, like, you could actually get portions of, like, if you bought like 50 of his NFTs, you could get like portions of a tie or a suit or something that he was wearing when he like went to jail. Like, the whole thing was just, it was wonderful. So he can't be against it. You can't use NFTs as a fundraiser and then turn around and be against it. And then also, I think politically, he probably can't oppose it as well, just because you know it tends to play into a more free market uh, slash libertarian slash uh, tech bro kind of base. Um, so yeah, that's my thinking there is that he has to support it.
I agree with you. Again, also based on those NFT collections, certainly I know he was minimally a skeptic, if not anti-crypto at that point in time. Fast forward, let's say post NFT collections. The other thing, I strongly suspect Vivek Ramaswamy has been bending his ear on the trail about the benefits of cryptocurrency, the notion of having a harder form of money. Yeah, it's really exciting to see him come around. Obviously, this week there are things like Fit 21, which I'm going to close out tonight's show with, as well as directly related to that, the let's say some rules and regs potentially coming into play in the coming months regarding what falls under the CFTC versus the SEC. I know on the back end of this week, actually, hell, tomorrow, we're all going to be kind of tuning in to see if the Van Eck Ethereum ETF is approved. Speaking of Fit 21, shout out to Peruvian Bull on Twitter. I want to acknowledge this recently hit my alerts just before we started tonight's stream. So Fit 21, Peruvian Bull called this out. Hidden in Fit 21 is a provision which limits crypto purchases to 10% of your income or 10% of your net worth. Fit 21 looking like a Trojan horse. So I had all of 5 minutes to quickly punch this up, and I pulled up the relevant bill, and it's on here for this particular bill. So I need to read this in context on that. Maybe if Nuclear Herbs is out there watching this on Twitter, you can chime in on some of these things, or maybe some of the other legal minds that are out there can chime in on this. But it's right here: 10% of the annual income or joint income, 10% of the person's net worth or joint net worth for the 12 months preceding plus the date of transaction. So if they're trying to limit me to 10% of my funds or net worth to buying crypto, hey, politely go fuck yourself.
I have the same sentiment exactly. One is, how are you going to enforce it? That's one thing. The other thing is, this is classic government overreach. I mean, this is telling me how I can and cannot spend my money. How can I and cannot invest? I'm not comfortable with that. So yeah, I have the same feeling that you do there, even though we just stumbled into it. So yeah.
Cool. All right, George. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. Why don't you tell the people where they can find you and where they can find things like Trump Rocks and the like? So, Twitter handle, webpage. Go ahead and shout it out. Let the people know what you are up to.
Wonderful. So I'm George at Trump Rocks. You can find me at trumprocks.rocks. That's the website. You can also find my YouTube channel, which is Trump Rocks NFT, and the Twitter handle is at Trump Rocks NFT. And I'd love to have you be part of a community. My focus has been on building NFTs and also a lot of crypto education.
Perfect. Well, we super appreciate having you on this evening. We'll close out with this one, George. Prediction for this election cycle: who's winning the presidential election, assuming everything is played fairly?
Yeah, that's the big factor, right? Assuming everything is played fairly, it is looking like Trump would be the winner. Now, if there is some kind of side play, like Biden is replaced by somebody more likable, that is a possibility. That is an unprediction, but ceteris paribus, everything else staying the same. It's looking like Trump is the winner, but what are we in May right now? We have until November. Things can change.
Yeah, it's going to get spicy. It's going to get spicy. George, appreciate you hopping on. Appreciate everyone who tuned in this evening. Hope everyone has a great evening. We'll see y'all soon.